There is no single look or physical feature that can define the face of a serial killer. John Joubert was a Boy Scout on the high school track team and played clarinet in the band. According to his teachers, he was a good student.
He was a very good student in my class. He was an honor student.
Growing up in Portland, Maine, he lived with his mother and sister after his parents divorced.
My impression is that the mother was cold and extremely manipulative. He was under very, very tight leash.
Although he excelled academically, he didn't get along with many of his classmates and was often a target for bullies.
He was a little boy all through his high school years. And, a lot of kids are picked on, but they seem to defend themselves. And I think because John did not defend himself, sometimes I wonder if he thought he deserved that kind of abuse that he would get. The shoving, the names, the teasing.
When he graduated from high school, Joubert attended Norwich University in Vermont. Free from his mother's grasp, he skipped classes and flunked out his freshman year.
Came back after his freshman year at Norwich, and we all said, there's something different about John.
It was that summer in 1982 that Joubert committed his first murder at the age of 19.
Over there by the factory is about where the crime scene was, where the body was found, yes.
11-year-old Richard Stetson was on this jogging trail when Joubert spotted him and started biking alongside him until they reached the other side of the cove. The next morning, a woman heading to work found Richard's body.
He was strangled, he was knifed, and John took the bite out of his left calf.
A year after Richard's murder, Joubert joined the Air Force and moved to Nebraska. There, his killing spree continued.
I pulled up at the quick stop on Mission Street to get something to drink. As I was drinking it outside and against the back. As I was doing that, I noticed this kid fixing his newspapers for the day.
In September of 1983, 13-year-old Danny Joe Eberly was out delivering newspapers. He'd only just started his bike route when he mysteriously vanished. His bike was abandoned outside someone's home, which was a big red flag for Danny's family, who said he would never be so careless with his bike.
All his paper route money had gone to saving for the bike that he got. He was responsible. He didn't just blow off paper routes to go play with friends or something.
3 days after Danny's disappearance, police organized a mass search. The Wahoo police chief was looking for less than 30 minutes when he discovered Danny's body.
And all of a sudden, I just happened to look down and I just said, here he is. And I saw a young boy, only in his briefs. He was tied up, had tape all over him. He was mortally wounded, I could see.
Then I pulled out the knife, said, please don't kill me. He struggled a little bit then, and I stabbed him in the back. When I had done that, he told me that if I would take him to the hospital, he wouldn't say anything. I didn't believe him, so I stabbed him again a couple of times.
Danny had been stabbed multiple times, his throat cut, and there were bite marks on his body. After killing Danny, Joubert attended a Boy Scout meeting. Flags were flown at half-staff in Danny's memory. As for the crime itself, police had little to go on, save for an unusual piece of rope made up of multicolored strands used to tie Danny Joe's hands and feet. Given the violent nature of the crime, police did know one thing for certain.
Someone that does that to a little boy, we felt it was unanimous. He'd do it again.
In December of 1983, 11 weeks after Danny first disappeared, Joubert claimed another victim. 12-year-old Christopher Paul Walden was walking to school when Joubert spotted him while driving by in his car.
I walked up and just showed him my knife. I said, come with me with my kid. Put my hand on the shoulder. He walked over to the car.
Christopher's body was found 3 days later by a pheasant hunter.
While the body was lying there frozen, his books and his knapsack and all his belongings were stacked there. So if you imagine someone making you take your clothes off with just your shorts on and walking in the snow, and then making you lie down in the snow, you got the knife held at your throat and there's nowhere to go, and he's overpowering you, knowing that you're going to be killed, it would have to be a terrible, terrible feeling for a little boy to go through.
This time, police had a witness. A woman had seen Joubert with Christopher. Of course, she didn't realize it was a kidnapping at the time.
Well, at first I thought maybe it was a kid not doing what his parent wanted, and then I thought maybe it was a lover's quarrel. I mean, I really didn't think it was anything violent. That Sunday night when they came to tell me that they found his body, that was just agonizing because I felt that was my fault. I mean, I thought if I could have found that car before Sunday night, this little boy would be okay.
A description and a sketch of the killer were released to the public. Despite police having little to go on, Joubert's next attack would be his last. A church preschool director was preparing for kids to arrive when she noticed a vehicle circling the building. Finding it suspicious, she memorized the license plate. The man in the car parked and approached her. At first, he asked for directions to another street, then asked if there was a phone inside he could use. When the teacher said no, he threatened her and tried to push her inside the building. She managed to get past him and ran.
And these serial killers, the big thing in their procedure is control. And you've got to break that concentration of control. Mrs. Weaver did that.
Police tracked the license plate number, leading them to Joubert. They went to his barracks at the Air Force Base where he was stationed. There, they found his duffel bag, and in it, an unusual piece of rope with multicolored strands, the same rope used to tie up Danny Joe. Hours after his arrest, Joubert confessed to the murders.
From the evidence that we had, and when he confessed to us, everything matched.
There's nothing that's going to bring Danny back, so it wasn't happy. It was just like, I'm glad at least he won't do it to anybody else.
I'm glad in a way that the state of Nebraska caught him before the state of Maine did, because Nebraska does have capital punishment. The state of Maine doesn't, and I'm going to feel a lot better after this guy is executed.
Did you think about the death penalty when you came to Nebraska?
No, I never did. I mean, when I first came to Nebraska, I never thought about committing any crimes. Once I did, I never thought about getting caught either. I wasn't able to think beyond acting out the obsession.
I hear that in some ways you got a lot of gratification out of the killing.
The murders provided material for the violent fantasies. That's all of the gratification there was. I can't do anything except apologize. Oh, and I am sorry. And it shouldn't have happened.
In October of 1984, Joubert was sentenced to death in Nebraska. He faced trial in Maine and was sentenced to the maximum of life in prison. He was sent back to Nebraska, where he sat on death row until 1996, when he was executed by electric chair. Joubert was 33. While this case took place in the 80s and 90s, it's one that many here in Nebraska remember to this day. We spoke with a news producer and a retired reporter who covered the story during that time. And we're joined today by Carol Kloss and Kathy Beeler, both producers on a documentary about Joubert. So I want to start off and talk a little bit about, working on the documentary about the crimes. Why did Joubert agree to an interview, and what was it like to talk with him?
It was kind of surreal for me, I'll be honest with you, just the process, the drive down there and everything. But I think he was trying to get some public sympathy. He didn't want to die.
Yeah, he was basically pleading for his life at the end, hoping that maybe the governor might stop the execution. I said to him, here you are pleading for your life. And all these years ago, these boys pleaded to you for their lives, and you didn't listen to them. Why should we listen to you now? And his answer was, because you're not me. You're not killers.
That forever has stuck with me. Regardless of what your opinions are on the death penalty, I don't want to be a killer, and it was like, I have a killer telling me that.
In this episode, we mentioned there's really no surefire way to identify a serial killer based on the way they look or act in society. In what ways does Joubert really emphasize that?
Well, he was so young at the time of the crimes. I don't know if they thought they were looking for a 19 or 20-year-old.
I think people have this horrific image of what a serial killer might look like, and he looked like a little boy.
So how did the community react when that first body was found, and then when it was revealed that a serial killer was at large?
I think there was such horror in this town when this happened. And still to this day, you talk to people that were growing up here then, and their lives changed. That's a pivotal point that they'll never forget in their lives. And they changed the way they raised their kids.
I moved here on September 17th. It was my 30th birthday, and Danny Joe Everly was abducted the next day on that Sunday. And it took several days for them to find his body, and I just, it was all over the news. And so that first week was my indoctrination into the city of Omaha. I just remember, this is not the Omaha, Nebraska I thought I was moving to. I knew it to be a wholesome community, and everybody else felt the same way, even people who were native Omahans. This is not the community they had known either. It was a terrifying time.
So how were police able to connect Joubert's murders in Nebraska to the one in Maine?
That didn't come until later, until after John Joubert was found and confessed to the 2 murders in the Omaha area. I believe it was an investigator from Portland happened to be at a workshop of the FBI, and they were talking about this child killer from Nebraska, and it sounded familiar to the investigator from Portland, Maine, and they did some forensics evidence, and they found out that the bite mark on Richard Stetson, the little 11-year-old boy who was abducted by Joubert and killed, matched Joubert's teeth marks, and that's how they figured it out.
Are there any final thoughts or parting words for viewers of this episode? Anything else that you want to share?
I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to relive this. It really brings up a lot of emotions, and it's something that we want to leave in the past, but also we want to learn the lessons that it taught us. We want to make sure that our children are safe, but we don't want to take away their freedom completely. We want to let them be kids, and that's the difficult balance that parents have to try to strike.
This is a case from the news archives that many Nebraska residents of the 80s and 90s remember. Are there any stories from the past that have stayed with your community for years afterwards? Be sure to tell us about it in the comments. I'm Alexandra Stone, and this has been your Weekly Dispatch. Thanks for watching Dispatches from the Middle. If you liked this episode, subscribe for more stories like this.